And good Monday afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and publisher of WhatsUpNewp, and joining me today is Mr. Frank Prosnitz. Hey, Frank.
How you doing, Ryan?
And you are alive.
Yes, I am. Last time I looked.
Yes, we were just on and testing everything, and I kept saying, Frank's live, Frank's live, and there is Frank. There he is. And winning for the best background today is Robert Berry.
Yeah,
look at that background.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I think it's alive is what we want to say.
Yeah, it's alive, indeed. So for those who know, Robert Berry was best known for his association with Keith Emerson, but lots of stuff going on. A brand new album.
Yeah.
You know, I've listened to the album. It's great. The music is terrific. He was the bassist vocalist with Three, which was the offshoot of Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Robert, coming in and out. You were upside down for a minute.
You are good now. We can see you, Robert.
You.
No, we got you. We've got you. Can you see us?
Unfortunately, I can't hear you.
Oh.
Let me turn this way, see if anything pops up. Mic.
All right.
Camera on.
We can hear you loud and clear, but we will.
I think I'm going to have to relaunch. I don't know what else to do here. Let's see.
Okay.
All right. Well, his website is going to be robertberry.com.
Let me tell you about my new album.
Happens to, technology and doing live interviews. We have seen everything happen. Let's, Robert.
I'm sorry about that. On the cell phone, as you told me, isn't the ultimate way to do this, but that's what I'm on now. Anyway, I apologize. Everything's good here.
Yeah, well, it's great here too. It's good to have you on board. So I was just mentioning about, people will remember you from the group Three with Keith Emerson and your long time relationship with him. And you have a new album out now called Third Impression. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. You've been in this business for what, about a month?
Yeah. Actually, if you look at my resume, it looks like I can't keep a job. So that's the problem. I mean, 40 years, really 30 years, I feel like maybe it's over that now, since I sort of went pro working with Steve Howe in GTR right before Three. Keith and I got together.
How did you first meet Keith?
I was working with Steve. Carl Palmer and I were trying to start a band. He called me here right where I'm talking to you guys in the studio, and we tried different ways to get members. It wasn't working out. I was living in England then, in a room the size of a bathroom. I swear to God, I could touch the walls, and it was like a prison cell. The toilet was there. There wasn't in a different room, but I was downtown London. Wow. And for a new guy on the scene, like, well, this is pretty cool. What is that? 6x8 room. Found like Roger Miller, the old trailers for sale or rent, 6x8 room, whatever, but I was there. We couldn't find the right guys. And my manager, Brian Lane, at the time said, Steve Howe needs someone in GTR. I joined GTR. Steve Howe and I got along incredible, wrote a bunch of songs. I just was a big fan of his anyway. I was very comfortable with him, but I wasn't with the singer. And I've said this a few times. I feel bad because Max isn't a bad guy. He just wasn't good to me at the time because he didn't want me singing. I was writing all the stuff with Steve Howe and making things happen, and Max wasn't happy. He kind of made my life miserable, so I quit. Just a guy that has a studio here in Campbell, California, living in London, and I quit my big break. The manager was not happy with me on a Friday. On a Sunday, he called and said, Keith Emerson wants to have lunch with you before you head home. And that was it. We had lunch, and Keith says, I like your voice, like your material, and I only have one question. Because we had a 2-hour lunch, a fantastic lunch. If we do start this new band and we tour, would you mind doing a couple ELP songs? And of course, just like you guys, it was Keith Emerson. You say, I don't think so, Keith. Forget it. No way, right? No, I said, of course. What are you talking about? That's your legacy, and I'd be honored to maybe, I didn't say this part, but sing Lucky Man in the beginning. Oh my God, how great. Well, that's not exactly what Keith had in mind when we did go on tour. We played the hard stuff, the Emerson stuff, but it was a great time in my life for sure.
how would you in a sentence, how would you describe Keith Emerson?
Fun, genius, the highest level of expertise and dedication I've ever seen.
I want to talk about you still having the same studio all these years. You've held that studio more than a job.
Yeah, there you go. Huh? Hey, was that a dig? I'll tell you a philosophy of mine. I had just started this studio, and this is a pretty big place. It's 1,200 square feet. The control room's big. I can show you around if you want to see it. But, and I didn't have even a third of the equipment I have now, but I had, like over here, I still have in the corner, and I don't use it, the 2-inch tape machine and the quarter track machine. And I had a different console. I have a classic Neve, the best in the world console now, but it was good. And a lot of my albums recorded on it. But I believe you're going to get something in this world, you have to take a risk. And you learn a lot from mistakes. So I'm not afraid to make a mistake either. I left this behind. And I had a friend that wanted to sort of rent it and work in it, and he'd pay the bills, supposedly. So that didn't work out because he never came to answer the phone. I guess he just thought people walked in the door with their guitar and recorded. So I had to come back every 2 months from England. I was working with Steve and working with Keith and Carl, and do a week solid of studio time as much as I could for the clients that wanted to work with me. I had worked in a studio during college and for like 10 years in San Jose, our biggest studio here. I had to keep coming back to pay for it so I wouldn't lose it. But if I did lose it, I wanted to go for what I thought was my dream career and what I'd always hoped to do. And I couldn't let anything stop me at that point. It's still here. I'm still here. And this is sort of a new job, the 3.2 albums, but it's a continuation of, 1987 when we started. So.
Obviously, you've recorded there, Robert. Anybody else notable recorded in your studio?
I just recently, Roger Steen is a guitar player from the Tubes. I do his solo albums. There's a huge Mexican band called Los Tigres del Norte. They're called the Mexican Beatles. They record here. They do all their pre-production sort of basic tracks here at Soundtech because they're all from the Bay Area around here. Because I'm close to San Francisco, I've had every conga player and horn player from the Santana Band, from Tower of Power, all those groups. I'm trying to think. Of course, Keith, Carl, and I recorded here. My band alliance is Gary Peel from Boston and David Lauser from Sammy Hagar's band, Ellen Fitzgerald from Night Ranger. They've all recorded here. And I'm probably missing quite a few. And I love working with all of them. That's my art, and we're working a lot of it together. But another thrill for me is just some person that, like a dad that knew me from college and bring his daughter in. She's 17, writing songs. She's really good. I want her to work with a pro on a song. And it'll be a hip hop song, and she'll say, well, I want to sound like Demi Lovato, whatever. And we'll pull it up and go, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll work on that. And I develop their song and their voice. We try to maximize what they sound like and how they can come across the speakers. But also I get educated in new music all the time by doing that. So all the studio stuff is amazing for me.
Robert, take me back a little bit. Your upbringing, your first involvement in music, and if I recollect, it was classical.
Yes.
And moving on, and what got you into rock?
Frank, you're completely right. I started 8 years of classical piano, 2 years of jazz. But before that, probably in the 40s they started, and in the 50s they were still doing it. My mom and dad had a band, like a Frank Sinatra, big band kind of thing, and toured Texas, Oklahoma, back in New York. We're the favorite band at the Santa Cruz beach here, where they had a stage out on the sand, and my mom used to tell me she'd walk across in her evening gown like they used to wear, like Judy Garland would wear, So my mom had a miscarriage of their first child. When she got pregnant with me, she didn't want to tell anybody. Her and my dad decided we're not going to tell anybody. My mom was very small, 5'2", was in the band till she was 8 months pregnant before she told them she was pregnant. I was on stage when I was in the womb, and my mom was singing, hearing trumpets and horns, saxes, and all that big band music. And I've heard that the ear is one of the first things that develops in a fetus. So even though you're right, I was really in a band and on stage before I was born. There you go.
You need to travel a little bit after you were born.
Yeah.
When you
Is that on your resume?
No, you know it's not. But
wait a minute. That's a great name for an album. In the Womb.
I'd have to do a big Harry Connick kind of album then, wouldn't I? Which I could do, because I love a big band. I'll call it big band jazz, but it was sort of pop music then, really, wasn't it? Yeah.
When did you first pick up an instrument, and what was that instrument?
After piano lessons, I had so many of them. I was in 7th grade. My dad took on the Vox guitar and amplifier line. He carried Thomas organs. After the band stopped playing, he opened a music store, I should say that. He took on Thomas organs, which were used on Lawrence Welk's show. And all of a sudden, my dad was making a great living. And Thomas organs decided to import Vox amps that the Beatles are using from England. What organ company would think that? They were just so progressive. My dad did even more business. Thomas Organ Company decided they need a Moog synthesizer on the top of their organs. They licensed the Moog. So I'm exposed to all this stuff in 7th grade. I get a guitar. I don't want to take guitar lessons. I have so much piano. I taught myself guitar. I did have 2 lessons. I shouldn't say I didn't have any. And that was really the first instrument I went, oh, besides piano. And then my dad's drummer left his big band, the huge bass drum and a little cymbal and stuff, the snare, in the garage in my parents' house. And I set it up and started playing that. He had some old chrome cymbals that sounded terrible because he had chromed them for looks, but that kills the ring. I set those up, and my dad had a tape recorder with 1 microphone. I'd put that out and try to figure out how to make things sound good with that 1 mic. So I had guitar, a keyboard that I borrowed from my dad's store because he had Vox, so he had a Vox Continental, a drum set, and a tape recorder. In 8th grade, a band came into my dad's store and said, hey, my little brother says that your son plays piano. Does he want to be in our band? Now, obviously, they didn't care if I was good or bad because my dad had the Vox store, right? They thought they got free equipment. Honestly, I couldn't really play very well. I could play classical piano really well, but that's not based on chords like you would in a band. So I got in that band. They put up with me thinking they'd get the equipment, and it gave me a head start. And they were seniors in high school, so I was 12, they were 18. It was a big head start.
What was your first professional experience?
When I was 12, the guitar player and the singer, who are both still very good friends of mine, one lives in Oregon, one lives in Texas. The guitar player, Eddie Callahan, had another guy on the back of his motorcycle holding their guitars coming to the gig, and they got hit by a drunk driver. First gig in my whole life. And I'm so excited. I think I was going to make $15, you know. He gets hit. They don't show up. And honestly, I was so traumatized. I don't know if I played or we didn't. But I found out that he was hit. Luckily, he was okay. But, I mean, I had to have a plate in his head and everything. It was pretty serious. Funny enough, one of the radio stations here, the big radio stations, the night guy was driving to work at the time and actually saw the accident. And so as a radio station guy, helped this musician get to the hospital. And it was an odd beginning for my career. And luckily, nothing's been a crash since that. But that was my first gig. No one's ever asked me that question, Frank. That's a good one.
Tell me how your music has evolved over the years.
I can tell you in the more the big picture way than in style. One of the hard things to do isn't to learn how to write a song, because you can write something about anything. I could write something about our talk right now. Hey, Frank's alive, Frank's alive, doom, 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 Frank's alive, right?
There it is. There's that song, In the Womb.
You know, and then, you know the next verse, Ryan tried to kill him. Ryan tried, you can come up with something, you can manufacture it. And I was getting good at manufacturing stuff. it wasn't until my first really professional band, Hush, broke up, and I had all these songs in the drawer that I didn't manufacture that I knew nobody would want to hear. About break up with a girlfriend, about a failed business thing, about a guitar that broke a neck, whatever it was. They were all personal to me. Nobody wanted to hear them, except for they were put onto an album because I got a free pressing from a pressing plant to try them out. So I used all the songs that were a bunch of junk and no one cared. The guy that did the cover, Rob Fowler, who's still a good friend of mine, does my website, does all my album covers, was in my band, guitar player. He sent it to all the major record companies and managers and got Herbie Herbert, Journey's manager, to go, this guy's got something. Herbie Herbert became my manager from all those songs that I thought were crap and nobody wanted to hear because they were too personal. That was the first learning experience about how my music changed, you know. Herbie took that and said, you know, these are really good, but you need to dig deeper into your own self, whatever it is. I actually wrote a song called Either You Do or You Don't with Herbie prodding me to improve it, which wound up on the 3 album with Keith and Carl. And that was a big step for me. All of a sudden I go, oh, I can write about what I really care about, what I feel. And then people want to know, sort of like Facebook or a podcast. People want to look into your private life, right? That's what a song is. The next big step for me was when I'm writing those songs. Like, I'm a huge Lou Gramm vocal fan. I like Don Henley. You know, it's kind of soulful but rock. I had to find how to sing those songs or how to write them in the key and the melodies that fit my voice to make me sound like the best I can sound. If that's good or bad, I have a piece of me that people seem to like and that I feel good at. That took really all the way till I joined Keith and Carl. I finally kind of hit on it right before that, and that was working with Steve Howe, where Max Bacon was singing more like the Yes kind of tone, like John Anderson, very European, kind of major. And I wrote this song, Talking About, which was a hit for 3, but I wrote it before GTR with Steve Howe, and Max Bacon would sing Talking About, and he'd go, I'm talking about you, and he'd pronounce every word. And I started to realize, oh, kind of the American bluesy thing is what I do. Talking about. It's more like a slang. It's not talking about. And I identified what it is that I liked about the soulful sound and what I could do with it. And that's really what brought me to be the songwriter and the singer that I am. And I think the most important part of my journey, kind of, because it served me well with working with a lot of different people.
When you write, what is it that inspires you to sit down and write a song, write the lyrics in particular?
You know, if I wasn't on my phone right now talking to you guys, I'd open it up in my notes and show you every title that I see. You know, like Frank is Dead would be in there right now. It'd be a title, but I find it when I'm, you know, I go to sleep 12:30. My wife's a teacher. She goes to bed earlier. So sometimes I'll just sit in bed with the phone. She's going to sleep and it's 11 o'clock. And from 11 to 12, it's almost like my brain is turned off. You know, there's nothing more I can do. And, oh, Frank is dead. Oh, you know what? You know that Frank, he was always a problem. You know, oh, it
I'm amazed that you knew that.
Frank the Problem Prosnitz.
I didn't realize there was a flow and also a rhyme going on here. But that's how I write a lot of the songs, the fragments of what I'm feeling and what I connect to. I feel like every day we're experiencing something different. And, you know, when I'm producing an album, I do a lot of music for people. And I play a lot of instruments. So most of my visits at the studio, even with Roger Steen from the Tubes, I'm playing most of the instruments. He plays guitar and sings. I'm doing keyboards, bass. I'm even doing drums. We'll bring Prairie Prince in once in a while, but I'm working on Roger this stuff. And I don't want to do 5 songs in a day. I can't time-wise anyway. I want to do 1 song because today I'm excited to talk to you guys. I got up, had a good night's sleep. I have a great session coming in about a stage play where they're going to do all instrumentation, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a puzzle being put together, and it's my wedding anniversary. So going out to dinner tonight with Rebecca. It's just a good day.
Hey, well, happy anniversary, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. But on a good day, I might not write the heaviest song, you know? I mean, oh, I'm really feeling good today. Let's sing a song about happiness. Well, I don't want to hear that. So today I might write or work on the stage play. Tomorrow I'm going to be different. And I'll write something different tomorrow. That's why I put all these ideas down just as fragments. Then I'll let that inspiration I had about how it hit me at a different time in what my frame of mind is then. I hope that makes sense, but that's what I do.
It does. I wonder, you know, you talk a lot about songwriting, and it's, you know, you can write the song, you can mix it in the studio. You know, it's going to be quite the challenge when you know you have to go out there and perform it in front of people and do it live.
You know, the progressive stuff is, I have my band Alliance is straight rock. That's, except for the screaming vocals on it, you know, that's a little bit easier for me. You look at this in 2019 before the shutdown, I took my 3.2 band on tour, which is Andrew Collier from a band called Circular Line, Jimmy Keegan from Spock's Beard, and Paul Keller, my longtime guitar player friend right here in town. And he went on tour with Keith, Carl, and I back in 1988. We did a tour of my history, starting with GTR all the way to 3.2, 30 years of music. Every song was hard, and it was a 2-hour set. I bought 5 basses to get comfortable, to find the one I could play and sing without thinking about the bass. And I just got rid of the ones I didn't want. They just didn't fit. All of a sudden, this one was like, okay, I don't have to think about the bass while I'm playing or while I'm singing. And that's tough. That many songs, when it all sort of relies on your career and your writing, and most of that progressive stuff is fairly complex. You know, it is a little tougher than having a band where 3 guys sing and everybody does 3 or 4 songs in a set, and you get a break once in a while. Then I'm talking between songs too. You know,
Robert, I wanted to ask you about the rules have changed.
Yeah.
And talk to us about that and the impact of Keith Emerson's passing, and the pause in developing that project, and then also about Third Impression, how that it seems to pick up a little bit on where you left off with the rules have changed.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, first of all, in my mind, the 3 albums to the 3 name, I'm going to grab them because they're right here. I don't have a vinyl on, well, I'll just do CDs. Here's, the red one's the first album. I call this the yellow one, but it's sort of a green yellow one. And then we have the Third Impression, the third one. They're all based on the sound and the style of 3. And it was important to me to follow through with it, although Keith was criticized so heavily in 1988 by a couple fans, there they go, that he didn't want to do it again. And I'll just say this quickly. We talked about it before. 2016, Rock Beat Records put out 3 live in Boston from 1988 from our tour. Keith signed off on it because it was just money in the bank, no big deal in advance. He didn't want to think about 3. You know, we had done projects for 27 years up to that point. We never talked about 3. We never talked about anything because Keith thought it wasn't good because of these 2 fans that wrote him letters. The album shows up. Keith thought he'd put it on at home like he likes to do, glass of wine, sit back, listen to music at night. He immediately called me, like stunned. Robert, we were such a good band. I said, well, I always thought so. He goes, no, I'm listening to the CD, the fire, the jamming we were doing. Remember, ELP was fairly formatted. 3 did a lot of jamming. Keith got to stretch out. You know, the songs were really good for that. He's so excited, and here's my chance. Well, Keith, what do you think about doing a follow-up? He said, maybe. Because remember, he had to switch gears that night. It went like that. We were good. 27 years, he thought he had ruined his reputation because of 2 letters he got in the mail. So I called the record company, been bugging me for 15 years. Frontiers Records wanted a second 3 album. You got to do it. I said, I won't ask Keith. You got to do it. I won't ask Keith. Do a solo album. Okay, what about a 3 album? I won't ask Keith. Now, Keith said, maybe. I called Frontiers. When do you want to start? I said, well, we want this much money. Okay. Want a year to do it? Okay. Complete artistic control. Okay. Okay. I call Keith back. Here's what I got. Keith says, where'd you get that kind of money? What? I said, Frontiers wants this album. They want Keith Emerson. You're Keith Emerson. He goes, oh, nobody really cares so much anymore. I said, well, these guys do. He goes, okay. I said, let me call him back. I called him back. And if Serafina, the president, ever hears this, I'm in trouble, but I've said it a couple times. I said, well, Keith said okay, but he wants another 10 grand on top of what you offered. Right? Now, Keith, he never said that, but Keith was so sort of down on himself, like, well, who has that money? And nobody really, I thought, oh, I'm going to show him people even care more than that. It was, and I got it. They said, okay, when do you start? Called Keith back. We started writing. I'm going to show you this, if I can swing this around, because this is my Pro Tools screen. And, on the mixer and stuff, this is all the digital stuff here. And I have this Casio piano that I go, no, 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 you're singing out of tune. No, 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 no. It's a C, And that's what I usually use it for. But Keith and I would be, Keith would say something really fancy. I can't play with my left hand like he can. And I would say, oh, okay, yeah, you're doing this. He'd go, yeah, fix it. And I said, well, that would leave a good place for a vocal. And I'd sort of record it off the phone, or I'd try to copy what he did right there and get the templates. Because got to remember, in 1987, when we started the first 3 albums, Keith was the sound and half the writer. I was the voice and half the writer. So we had the full team as far as the music. We just didn't have the drummer, Carl Palmer. And I don't want to say drums are drums because he's great, but you know what I mean. It's not especially a sound and a writing style. So we had worked this way back and forth. He had a really expensive Casio piano, which he had demonstrated at the NAMM show the last time I saw him there, 2016, I think it was. And we'd just play back and forth and write these songs. He sent me digital files in. I had his playing. I finished what I could. We were about 2/3 of the way through. And then Eleanor Emerson called me and told me that Keith had shot himself. And if you follow my excitement in my story at all, because you could tell I'm just still thrilled to death that I got to work with Keith and Carl and Steve Howe and all the guys. I'm still really energized and excited. Right there and then, I lost, like, my most famous friend. He's one of the funniest guys you ever met. I have some videos I can't even show you that he sent me. Some things are so funny. The most talented, perfectionist, but real at the same time. The only entertainer in the keyboards that shove knives and smoke and pull the organ on them. Who does that that's a keyboard player? Inspired generations of keyboard players, not just for his playing, but because he was the Jimi Hendrix of the keyboard. All that, and then an album I wanted to do for 27 years, boom, gone right then on that phone call. And that really took me down. I just, another thing I like to say, there's a solution to every problem. You might not like the solution, but you can solve it. There's no solution.
What led up to Keith taking his life?
There's a bunch of things I can't tell you about. He had an operation on his arm. He couldn't play the way he used to play with his right hand. The left hand was better than anybody I know plays. So it was stiff. He told me, you don't want to tour a lot. I said, well, our songs won't be like ELP. They won't be that hard, And he goes, well, a few shows. But he had this 5 shows in Japan that he had to do before he came here to finish the album. And then he called me and said, there's 2 shows a night now. And he was upset about that. But he said, I'm going to go see my grandkids in England. They'll come to the studio and we'll finish up. He had some health problems I didn't know about till afterwards. At doctor reports, he had some impending heart issues. But that could be like a stent, Stents are easy. I'll probably have one day and I'll celebrate it, And thank God they have stents. He had little depression. He had taken himself off of depression medications. That's never a good thing to do on your own. Whenever I recorded or I wrote with him and we were working the album on the phone, he was always alone. Every night he was alone. And I started thinking that was kind of weird, but that's none of my business. But honestly, Frank, here's the thing. And not that I was Keith's best friend or his most famous writing and working companion, But I feel like at that point in time, I was his happy place because he had all this other stuff that wasn't happy for him. And he wasn't a rich man. Remember, Greg Lake wrote all the hit songs. Keith was in the band, but it's the publishing and the writing that keeps the checks coming in a big way year after year, you know. So he did okay, but he wasn't rich. He needed the money. This was his happy place, this album that was upcoming. But there was things at home and in his life that made him despondent. I had no idea because I'd spoken to him, 2 days before, and I had written a song called This Letter about our conversation to talk about, you know, Frank's dead. The conversation about him going home to see his grandkids. And it just inspired me to write this thing. And I was putting it in the mail to him, email, you know, and he never got it, of course. But yeah, I wish I knew. I will tell you, Frank, since I went through that experience, I have done an album with a client on suicide. And I learned that suicide, the person's in a black hole they can't see out of. They're also in a black hole you can't see into. It's totally a unique situation to them. They don't reach out. Sometimes you can't tell. A person can be completely happy and then gone the next day. You just don't know. And us that are left behind have certain steps of grieving. That took me a year, as far as musically, to want to finish the album, prodding from my manager, prodding from the record company, and luckily support from Aaron Emerson, Keith's son, who thought some of the music was just the greatest and thought I should finish it. Now,
tell us a little bit about that and how that came about and what he was able to do to get you to that next step.
Basically, him trying to get me to do it, I said, you know what, Aaron? Let me send you a song, because Aaron plays keyboards. He goes, oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah. And it was one of the simpler ones, I thought. Remember, I had 10 years of piano lessons, so even the hardest stuff doesn't seem that hard. Sent it to him, he called me right back. He goes, I don't play like my dad, Robert. I can't do any of this. I'm kind of a blues jam band guy. But he got me excited to revisit the material, to find that song, that simple song. And it was called Powerful Man that I sent him. And it was written about his dad, Steve Howe, you know, his son, Greg Kihn's son, Sammy Hager's son. You know, Powerful Man was their dads, raising them from afar on the stage, and them looking up to their dads. And I thought Aaron should play on this. He didn't want to do it. But I got to revisit the material. I said, you know, there is a lot of really good stuff, and it is so Emerson-ish. So I finished it up. The bad news, called Aaron and said, it's ready to go. The record company loves it. The manager says the people are going to really love that you did this, because I'm still not feeling great about finishing it by myself. The Emerson Estate Board of 7 people say, you can't release this. We're not going to let you. Like, what? Keith and I were going to do this. That money would go to the kids, you know. Oh, no, we want Keith remembered as a composer, not as a player, a rock and roll keyboard player. And I said it before, really, the Jimi Hendrix of the keyboards, the only guy like that, you want him remembered as a composer. I said, well, I want to put it out. They go, no, you can't. So I thought about it. Nobody knew what Keith had contributed to that album but me. Even Aaron didn't know, because I didn't dissect it. You could tell what Emerson did. You could tell the Keith parts. But I could have made those up. You never know, right? You can't prove it unless you got the Pro Tools session. So I wrote back to the state board. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you one more chance. I want to put this album out. I'm going to put it out. I can put it out giving Keith credit, and the board and the family get his money, or I can put it out on my own, because honestly, you don't know what Keith contributed. Now, I would never do that. Aaron would have always got the money his dad deserved, but I wasn't going to let him stop me. They made it a crusade all of a sudden for me, where I didn't want to do it. No, this is going on no matter what, right? People are saying this is great Emerson material. They got back to me. Well, you can use his writing, but not his playing. That was as far as I could get him. So, okay, I can play. I have, if you can see it over there, the Moog synthesizer, the Kurzweils. I have the Korg Oasis. You know, I have every keyboard. I can recreate these, and I'm capable. I'm no Keith Emerson, but I'm capable. remember, it's sort of like finding your voice and writing the song. The genius is in making it up, right? So I went about for months painstakingly recreating every sound and every playing as if it was a Xerox copy. And I say that because it's still Keith's sound, it's still his style, it's still his writing. I'm just pushing the button as if it's the button on the Xerox copy machine. So I can play it side by side. And I did do that for one great guy, Anil Prasad, who's an interviewer that has this great Intervisions website. He came here. I proved it to him in case I ever need backup that, yes, there's the carbon copy. And he said, I can't believe it sounds exactly the same. So I had to do that. The album came out. It had really great success. It was welcomed with open arms, not criticized. Luckily, the part I was worried about, why would you finish this up without Keith alive? How dare you? None of that. Record company calls. We have Aerosmith. We have Whitesnake. We have Asia. Yes, Journey. They sell a lot of records. We can't tell you what they sell, but you did really well. You need to do a follow-up. I don't want to do a follow-up. You really should think about it. Don't you have any more songs? I have one song called Never, 9 minutes long, too long for the rules have changed. I said, if I can write 7 songs I think Keith would have wanted to work on, I'm trying to do this fast for you, and that I'm proud of, I'll put them together, we'll see what we got, but I really don't want to do a follow-up. Well, it turns out, with all the Emerson time I spent, working with him, alongside him, being a fan way back when I got that Moog from my dad's store in the early days, the Thomas organs, he was embedded in my DNA even more than I thought. When I started to write the songs, what I used to glue the rules had changed together in the songwriting part for the lyrics, which was sort of Emerson-ish, because that's part of who I am, really came to the forefront. And this was, I won't say it was easy, but it was sort of effortless for me to get where I wanted to with each song. I finished them up, and I finished up Never. I went, oh my God, this was such a big piece of music. I just didn't need it, so I didn't realize. Record company manager said, this has to go out. This would be a perfect follow-up. I know this is a long story, but now I get to talk to you, and you're alive. Frank, you're alive.
Indeed I am. Indeed I am. So Third Impression came out when? Just recently, right?
Yeah, February 12th.
Yeah.
And you think I was worried about the rules that changed. That because I was in a little bit of an emotional state with all that. I was really worried. This was okay when they said, no, people are going to love it at the record company until the day before it got released. Then I'm thinking, I'm ruining the beauty and the charm of the Rules of Change release. It was welcomed with open arms. People really were thankful it came out. I'm ruining that. And then the next day it comes out and people are saying, we're so glad to have this last effort. And it is the last effort of the band 3. There will be no more. That's it. I don't have anything else that Keith and I did together. I just won't do it. I mean, I want there to be 3 albums to the 3 name, even though it was 3 and 3.2.
Yeah, it's great music, and it's a terrific album, and I would urge people to get it. We're going to get it.
Amazon has it. It's sold out twice on Amazon. So is it HME or something in England sold out a bunch too? They have still have big record stores there, evidently.
Yeah.
It did very well. And I believe Amazon, of course, Frontiers Records you can get if you want to import it from Italy. But Amazon's the place. You can check out on YouTube a couple of great videos. The first single was called Fond Farewell. It's either Robert Berry's 3.2 Fond Farewell or just Fond Farewell 3.2. But Frontiers did that video. I had an idea, and they said, we hate that idea. And I said, well, why don't you do something? A little snotty, right? It's a fantastic video, but The Last Man on Earth, it really made a movie out of it. And there's a song called Our Bond on there. I lost my mom a couple of years ago and never really got to honor her the way I wanted to. And so I said about, I talk about how I write, but I wanted to write something that everybody could find their parents or their friends or whatever in, and really kind of honor whoever inspired them. And Our Bond is a video on there also that I think people will appreciate. That's on YouTube. They could check it out there. And if they want the album, Amazon is a place to get it. Oh,
What's
I'll tell you what
next?
else. I'll tell you. I did vinyl on the rules that changed because the record company wouldn't do it. That's how important it is to me. I did it all, mastering,
Oh,
pressing, printing. I made sure I had my hands in everything, and it goes in a nice clear sleeve. It's resealed. I have a pick from the first and the second album, guitar pick that goes on it. That's all on the website. There's 100 of those left. I only did 300 of them. For third impression, which it'll be here the 25th, I think, of June, there's only 200 of them. I have a little bit of a mean streak I didn't talk to you about. I want it to be rare. And if you want the album, you might not be able to get it. After the first 200 is gone. That's my mean streak. I want it to be rare. So
well, there you go. There you go. What's the next project?
yeah, I am working on right now on something for next year. I can't actually discuss it yet. It's being considered by 3 record companies, and there's just some stuff going on. But we are booked the 3.2 band, my fantastic band. They are so good, doing my 30-year history all the way. Now we'll do a couple third impressions. My 32, 33-year history in progressive rock has a booking in April of next year for our first concert. And that'll be publicized quite a bit, so you'll see it. They haven't announced yet, so I gotta be careful with that.
How do you feel about things opening up again and finally being able to get out and do some gigs?
I've been fine with it the whole time. I hate to say that my year last year was normal, because a lot of people didn't have a normal year, but I fought to have a normal year. I've lived like a singer all my life. I have a coat from Madison Square Gardens when Keith, Carl, and I played there, 1988, that I can take out right now and show you a little bottle of Purell in the pocket. I've had to live like a singer. I can't afford to get sick. I can't be hoarse. I got to get sleep. I can't be doing drugs. I can't be drinking a bunch. Not if I want to be who I am and do my piece of music history the way I want to do it. So I was used to sanitizing and washing my hands and things. So this wasn't unusual for me to wear a mask, even though I never wore a mask before. But I'm very excited about it opening up. I think the worst of it is behind us. And the good news is the more people are going to be careful as just a way of life, which maybe will bring down flus, colds, everything. That would be nice. No one talks about that. Let's just be healthier in general.
It is a pretty remarkable season. We've had much less flu. We've had very little talk about the
Yeah.
flu this season, and it's clearly because of masking and other things that we've done.
Yeah, I think it's 250,000 people or something. There's 160,000 people die of the flu every year. No,
Right.
I think it's 250. Nobody knows that. They just want to scare you with the coronavirus. But 250,000 people die. Maybe that will be curbed to 30,000, which is still a big number. But wouldn't that be
Yeah.
something?
That would be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. What do you say to young performers who have struggled over this past year, just getting their careers off the ground, and suddenly this pandemic came crashing down on them? How do they keep the faith?
I tell them, be careful talking to Ryan and Frank, first of all.
There you go.
They'll get into your inner secrets. They're going to cause you trouble.
That's our job.
My best advice, take a social media class. It changes all the time. That's your promotional venue. Facebook, if you use it at a certain age group, that is the way to promote things. It changes every 3 months. You do one thing, and that's what causes you not to be successful 3 months later. Take a public speaking course. Take a social media course. Find your true center, what means something to you, and then think about how do other people relate to that. Like the song about my mom. I didn't write it as, oh, my mom, she died, I miss her. No, I tried to write it where, Frank, when you listen to that song, you tell me if you go, that was my parents. They don't have to be good parents to influence your life in a certain way. They can be bad parents and you want to move on from that. Mine were great parents and they inspired me, but that's what the song's for, So you find how your life can connect everybody else's life too, as a songwriter.
You have children?
I have 2 children. Unfortunately, well, let's start with my daughter. She owns a tanning salon, and she's just business-minded, wants to have a bunch of businesses. Just turned 30. Wow. My son, here's the bad news. He's a musician.
Uh-oh.
I know, but He's good at it. He's got a little studio behind mine. He does great work. He's a good guy. He's working hard to figure out all this social media stuff. He's good at video. I expect his path will lead somewhere because he's doing what he loves. And that's why I always told my kids, do what you love and it will take care of you. Sooner or later, you might not be wealthy, but you're going to be happy. So,
I've never had a job because I've had a passion for everything that I've done.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you can do that every day. If you have a job, it's a struggle.
And, I'm in the heart of Silicon Valley here. I've said this. 1 mile to the south is Netflix. 1 mile to the east is eBay. 2 miles to the north is Apple, the big the new complex. I mean, I'm right in the middle. That's where these places all started, right? There's a lot of people here that have a job. They work 12-hour days, even 10-hour days in front of a computer. The happiness isn't there. They make a lot of money. They have a brand new BMW. Oh, woohoo, But in the long run, it takes a notch out of life all the time. And you see a lot of unhappy people. Not miserable people because they got money, I guess, but they're not happy. And it's great to hear you say that too.
Well, it's been, that's why I keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity to be able to talk to people like you. I have an opportunity to learn from every day. I have an opportunity to learn something new. And that's just really, that keeps me going.
It's the same for me. I work with somebody different every day, which, by the way, my client just walked in here. Chris is here, so I might have to stop, which I apologize.
Well, we're going to need to let you go, but I just want to, this is the third time I've interviewed you, Robert. It's going to be a habit.
And I'm going to be, Frank, I'll be talking to you next year because I got something really big going on. I shouldn't even say that. But, between the tour dates for 3.2 and the new thing, it's going to be a good year. I'm excited. I keep moving forward. John Lappin, my PR guy and a guy well, he does such a great job for me that I get to talk to people all the time that this is the music business now. It's amazing. You are the guys that promote, and I don't care if you have 5 listeners, you have 10,000 listeners. The people that listen to you, they care about what you have going on, and they get connected to the people you talk to. And that's the business, because you sure don't have record companies and radio. Radio plays classic rock stuff, the same old things all the time. This is it. This is the real thing. Now, I thank you for that, by the way.
Well, I want to thank you. This is it's always fun to talk to you, and great interview. We look forward to what comes next.
Yeah, thanks, Frank. I appreciate it. And if Ryan's not hanging out on the other side of the screen there, tell him thank you, and I will speak to you guys again very soon.
And one more time, happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. That's fantastic. I'm a happy guy. I got the best wife in the world. I hope most people can say that.
Yeah. Well, I have to.
Yeah.
My wife's in the next room.
Oh, that's that knife I see in the back door there.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one.
Hey, get off the computer. All right, I'll see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. It's been great, and go take care of your client.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.